Hi guys, and welcome back to Omega Strikers Nation. I'm sure some of you are wondering where we've been the last few months, and the honest answer is busy. We all have our own lives going on, and to cut a long story short, even before the game started dying, we barely had the time to put into the channel, but that's changed. Just in time for us to go over all of the changes that Odyssey Interactive are planning to implement into the full launch this April. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. As we all know, the open beta for Omega Strikers ended on January 1st. Truly a sad day for us all. But in the update they gave us on December 20th, we got some good news. And some bad news. The bad news is that the full launch is being pushed back to April 2023. The good news is, they've pushed it back that far because they're hard at work with changes, new mechanical updates, and a ton of new content. So there will now be a total of 5 barriers guarding each goal at the start of the game, or perhaps the start of each round. 2 at the outer corners of the goal, 1 just inside the middle of the goalie box, and then finally 2 more serving as the last line of defense behind the middle barrier. They look like they will break apart piece by piece. It's not clear if they reset after each goal. Will you be able to ricochet the core off of the inner sides of the remaining pieces? Either way, it's going to mix up the early game and make for some interesting saves. I can't wait to see Dubus out-Dubu themselves too. There's a new mechanic being implemented. You flip the core up in the air for about 1 second. The player who flipped the core cannot be hit, it will knock away nearby foes, and they are the only player that can hit the core while it is in the air. If they hit the core while it is in the air, then that strike will be greatly empowered. My first impression here is that it is pretty neat that Odyssey is adding a new mechanic that can be utilized by every character. More ways to make plays is definitely the way to go as far as increasing player count and retaining said players. Most people love making flashy plays and showing them off to others. While this is definitely a step in the right direction, there are a lot of questions to be asked about this mechanic. I'm not so sure how I feel about potentially having endless flip volleys. Is there a cooldown for this ability? Is it an independent cooldown for each player? Is there a global cooldown where once it is flipped, it can't be flipped for a certain amount of time by anyone? Is it all of the above? All of these questions do tie into one another, but they are very important questions that will hopefully be answered sooner rather than later. We're going to be getting some more, in my opinion, much needed map variety. We're going to be getting a map that has a hole in the middle. Okay, I found the reason why they're taking until April to officially launch the game. Case closed, people. Anyways, this is honestly going to be a very fun addition. If you thought that X and Juliet were a pain to deal with on the original maps,
I'd pick me too.
then I can only imagine the terror and havoc they will wreak on this map. I can already see this map turning into the Omega Strikers version of Ilios Well from Overwatch. The other map hazard we were shown was a couple of gravity wells that pull the core and all players into their center. Luna and Amy would be great at punishing enemies stuck in the gravity zones. Era may be able to shrink enemies in there, and since they are slowed, they may not be able to get out. This would also allow her to fully charge her ult and potentially kill anyone she has just shrunk in the zone. There was a mention and a video about speed gates that will speed up players and the core if they pass through them. These gates will allow for even more playmaking potential as well as simply assisting the less mobile heroes. With the addition of speed gates offering a temporary speed boost, also comes match-long boosts called, quote, game buffs. These will change from map to map and will add yet another layer to each game that will totally have to be taken into consideration when selecting your hero and or building your comp. The examples we were given include a map with a quote super surge buff that increases dash ranges by 40%, blink ranges by 20%, as well as making haste effects stronger. Juliet and Estelle players will be jumping up and down with joy when they see this game buff appear. We also were shown a Gigantify game buff that increases player size significantly after using your special. There was no mention on the duration of this buff or if it will last the entire game. I would guess since it is listed as a game buff that it will persist for the entire game. Now the real question would be if this Gigantify effect stacks the more you use your special. Godzilla-sized X taking up the entire screen and punching the enemy team off the map without breaking a sweat? This brings back flashbacks of Cho'Gath taking up half the screen in League of Legends.
Would you like some cheese with your wine?
We've been asking for more ways to collect things outside of the season pass, and it looks like we're getting it. A character-specific progression system that rewards you with various cosmetic rewards as you master different strikers, exclusive nameplates, emojis, and probably a skin or two. Updates to map backgrounds, the versus screen, end of match screens, and more. The backgrounds were a little stale, so getting some eye candy is refreshing. A better looking reporting system with some new features. Maybe we can be notified when the players reported get punished? I'm still crossing my fingers on that. And a party chat feature. We will be able to make pre-made messages to send to people in our party as well as invite them to Discord. What a concept! And of course, the new cosmetics. A sneak peek at Raindrop Era, Wizard Prodigy Luna, and Orbital Force Estelle. I mean, if they're trying to get us to spend money on the game, these skins are looking like they will get the job done, even if what they've shown is in the early stages of development. This is only the beginning though. The beta may be over, but Odyssey Interactive are actively working on making the game everything they, as developers, and we, as players, want it to be. I don't know about you guys, but we're counting down the days until we can play more matches and release more content for you guys to enjoy. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're hoping to release a few more videos before the full release, so slap that subscribe button to keep up with all of our content.